This video focuses on two firms that can help as you approach the end of your car lease. One company is Lease End and the other is CarMax. Both offer benefits to consumers, though they generally help consumers in different situations. Now, as a consumer approaching the end of your lease, it is important to recognize that knowledge is power, and one of the most important things you need to know is the level of equity you have in your vehicle. Consumers are not always aware that they may have thousands of dollars in positive equity in their leased vehicles. This video will help you understand and determine whether your vehicle has positive equity and how to keep that money for yourself. Again, we'll focus on how two consumer-friendly firms, Lease End and CarMax, benefit consumers like you. The projected residual value is the amount the leasing company expected your car to be worth at the end of the lease, typically based on the age of the vehicle and the number of miles you plan to drive it. Sometimes their projection is off due to economic or consumer trends, or because you drove the car fewer miles than you had planned. You can determine your projected residual value by finding it in your leasing contract or simply by contacting your leasing company and asking them to tell you the projected residual value. The current market value, on the other hand, is the value your vehicle is worth today. When your car's market value exceeds the projected residual value, you have positive equity. When the projected residual value is higher than the market value, you have negative equity. The car's market value is easy to determine using a tool like Edmunds appraisal tool. The Edmunds process is simple. It asks your vehicle's brand, model, trim level, condition, and mileage, and then provides its current market value. Then, using the formulas we showed earlier, you compare the projected residual value and the current market value to determine whether you have positive or negative equity in your vehicle. People are often surprised to learn that they have positive equity in their leased vehicle. For example, Lease End's 2025 annual lease buyout report showed that many models had positive equity at the end of the lease. And as we scroll down, we can see some very common, popular models with positive equity that consumers retained by working with Lease End. In some cases, consumers were able to retain $6,000 to nearly $9,000 in equity in their vehicles. So that's a lot of money. Now, once you know where you stand in terms of your vehicle equity, the next big question is whether you want to keep the leased vehicle or dispose of it at the end of the lease. If you want to keep it, then Lease End can be helpful regardless of whether you have positive or negative equity. If you want to dispose of the vehicle, then you can consider selling the vehicle to CarMax so that you can keep your positive equity. So let's look at both firms, and we'll look at the Lease End process first. Regardless of whether you have positive or negative equity in the car, Lease End helps you buy out the lease rather than return the vehicle to the dealer, particularly if you want to finance the buyout. Here's how the Lease End process works and how they simplify the process for consumers. Once you grant Lease End permission to work for you, they contact your financing company to confirm your buyout amount. Then they contact other financing companies to find those that offer the best terms for you. Besides being convenient, Lease End's process helps you by comparison shopping your financing options. If your vehicle has positive equity, the value can go toward your down payment, reducing the amount that you borrow. If you have negative equity, Lease End can add that to your loan amount. Now let's turn to CarMax. If you had a good experience with your vehicle and dealership and want to acquire another vehicle of the same brand, then returning the vehicle to the dealer may be a good choice. However, if your vehicle has positive equity, the dealer is not required to reimburse you the difference between your car's market and residual values. They can pocket the difference, which is why CarMax can be helpful to you. CarMax buys and sells used cars from consumers and is a good option for those who want to dispose of their leased vehicle and either do not want to replace the vehicle or want to replace it with a vehicle from another manufacturer. You simply enter your license plate number, the VIN or vehicle identification number, and other information about the vehicle, or you simply schedule an in-store appointment. CarMax then determines the price it will pay for your vehicle based on its current market value, making it a desirable option if you want to dispose of a vehicle with a positive equity. You can handle most of the process online or by going to a CarMax store. Of course, if you handle the process online, you must return the car to a CarMax store where they will verify the vehicle's mileage and condition match what you reported online. The primary challenge when selling your vehicle to CarMax is that auto financing companies often restrict when and to whom you can sell your leased vehicle. Many do not allow leased vehicles to be sold to third parties like CarMax. Be sure to check CarMax's website for the current list of those financing companies. If your financing company does not allow you to sell a leased car to CarMax and you have substantial equity in the vehicle, you can always purchase the vehicle from the leasing company yourself and then sell it to CarMax or anyone else. If you have limited equity, then you can choose the easiest or most convenient route since there isn't much money at stake. However, the more equity you have in the vehicle, the more you should take steps to keep your money, including working with companies like Lease End or CarMax. As a consumer nearing the end of a vehicle lease, your first step should be to determine the vehicle's equity. If you want to keep the car past the end of the lease, consider working with Lease End to find attractive financing options. If, on the other hand, you have equity in the vehicle and do not want to keep the car at the end of the lease, contact CarMax to determine whether they can buy your vehicle and the amount they will pay. Either way, knowing the dollars at stake helps you determine your best options and choices.